Good morning. Right, I found the on switch. And let's get the chat up. All right, good morning, Kevin, and good morning, Tim. Graham, hello. It's a lovely 1 centigrade outside. Yes, it is absolutely freezing, isn't it? Whoops, I'll just pull my mic apart. Hey dear, what's it like? Oh, great start. Right. How are we all doing? I wouldn't care, I've got a headset, but I wasn't entirely happy with how I had it set up not a headset, I had a lapel mic, but I wasn't entirely happy with the way I had it set up. So I took it off for now. I need to have a look at it again. So I'll do that this week. This weekend, actually, when I get a chance. Alright, you just got home from work. Very good. I've just got out of bed thinking, oh my God, what am I talking about today? And what I'm talking about today is, well, it's community, isn't it? As in the conditions of success. This section is about your community. So just a quick recap of the journey so far, at least this week. Wherever it is. And yes, so we've talked about lots of cool stuff here. So for this section anyway, conditions for success, we've talked about focus, habits, environment, decisions, fear, boredom, skills was yesterday, and today it's down as community, but I'm talking about it as building a tribe, really. Building a tribe. And I think one of the really fascinating things about building a tribe is you don't, to actually make, because building a community, building a tribe, good thing about that is, it's a good way to build a business, which is fundamentally what you want to be doing. The good and bad things about music today, the music industry, is we don't really, unless you're very, very lucky, we don't get the kind, they don't really turn up at your doorstep anymore and give you a couple of £1 million to go off and become a rock star. So that's really a thing of the past. I mean, obviously we have like Ed Sheeran's and things like that, which still happen. That old music industry's still there. But for the majority of artists, it's very difficult to, and almost impossible to get into that. And at the end of the day, you want to be doing music, you love music, and it's like going to be your favourite job. So we've just got to be a bit realistic, haven't we, and have a look at how we can stay in touch with what we love and do, and create some sort of an income. And obviously a lot of that's based from getting people interested in what you're doing and building some sort of, or facilitating, in my hi Zed, some sort of community round what you're doing, So and there's like lots of ways you can do this, I suppose, and lots of ways to think about it. Hi there, Sean. So I've been through various sort of different incarnations of doing this before I really decided on what it was I wanted to make money out of, really, in terms of that, and build a business. Yes, we're talking about money. It's all about love, though. Doing it for the love, that's the main thing, because honestly, music's like the toughest way to make stuff. You've got to be in love with it to do it, really. So as we know, when you making music and you're releasing music now and you're putting up on Spotify, it is a difficult game. I know there's videos out there with people saying like, "Oh, this is how I made like 80 grand out of Spotify." It is possible. I mean, anything is possible, but in my experience, it's very difficult. I mean, I've thrown so much in on doing releases, and in terms of money and getting things out of it, it's been very difficult. You couldn't live off it. I mean, let's have a think what I've done in the past. So there's all of the dance music that I did as The Rain, and I have publishing as well. So I have music that gets played all of the time, really, and I get a statement in every year. And honestly, the spreadsheet is huge. It's pages and pages and pages. Like here we have the BBC Radio, and I have music that gets played all of the time, not in adverts, but it'll be played on dance programs, things like that. The amount of time, I think it was 14 plays last time I checked. I had music on Geordie Shore. And you'd imagine, you get a bit of money for that, wouldn't you? But no, it was like $50 each one. I mean, it was a bit more than Spotify, but not very much. So, tons of different TV programs I've been on quite well. Animal Kingdom, like loads of random stuff. Adult Channel, believe it or not. So tons and tons of usage of my stuff. At least it looks that way to me. But not that much kind of coming in from there, really. So yeah, that's like from the publisher, and they work really hard, but obviously they have lots of artists, and this is going on all the time. And really what you're trying to do is you're trying to get on a TV ad or something like that, aren't you, to make the big money, and then that way you're making like 30 to 50 grand on a TV ad, which is great. If you get a car commercial or a mobile phone, you do get quite well paid for that. You can, sort your living expenses out for a year. And then the other problem that I realised very sort of early on is you don't actually know who your fans are. Like when I was releasing dance music, so you'd put something out, it would go to the label, right, and then you never really knew who was listening. You would either have it, on Spotify, and the numbers would go up, but there was no way of actually capturing who was listening to it. So like one of the things that I did back then was set up, and I've done this on and off, like a landing page to capture people in. But the only thing I didn't, or my management Tudich would do that, but I never knew who was listening. And then because I was releasing music, the engagement with them was just releasing the music, and all it was just not really moving the needle into a full-time livable wage. That was the problem. So eventually it got evident, and I think early on quite hard to accept that, like, just to sit in your room and make music and release music, it isn't gonna, you're not gonna get a livable wage out of that necessarily. So that was a bit of a hard truth, but not the end of the world, because when you flip the coin over, you can do other stuff, right, and make an okay living out of it, and it's very, very doable and very, very realistic, So one of the upshots of when you're releasing music and you're doing other things, like anything to do with education, right? So what things could we have? Music production. So you can teach people about music production. It's all educational stuff, isn't it? Like School of McRock. So you could have a school. You can teach guitar, music production, sample CDs, sample libraries, although not that lucrative, but you can make a little bit out of those sort of products. There are various things you can do. So for me, it was obvious to go down some sort of educational route. But again, I mean, the type of crowd that I found with sort of the dance world, it was just they weren't that interested. People weren't really talking the way that that people engage on here. So that was difficult. So really, I kind of lay dormant with it, but then everything got reactivated with when I started getting back into guitar, doing the McRuckler and Hutch thing. It's different. Everybody, like the community that I experience now is like amazing. Like everybody's into everything. We're into things that aren't just about a guitar. People are getting like cameras, they're filming themselves. There's all of that side of it. There's the broadcasting side of it. As well as the guitars, as well as, and now guitarists are, really into music production. And we've got, and their tastes in music are very diverse as well. People are into like synthwave, and they're into synths, aren't they? They want to shred on synths. They want to shred on music that's not just straight up rock. That's got a really sort of like modern, synthy kind of vibe to it. So there's all of these interests people have that basically you can tap into. So I was just going through. It was a while ago that I had a coaching course thing. And what that was about, so it's a thing I used to coach on, and it was called Building a Tribe. So that's what we've got. We've got Creating a Tribe today. And I suppose the main thing about building a community is really, understanding all about the people who are on there and what makes them tick. So I've got a list here of various, I suppose, characteristics that you can have a look at. So this is something I'll be going through for me on my coaching course, a shameless plug. I'm starting this new professional group. And so they'll be coming up with what their ideas are in terms of how they're going to make money. Okay, and then looking at how they're going to, facilitate that and develop it, and make it into something that you can get an income from. I mean, for me, the way I work things is just simply I like to. I just love engaging with people now, and I love just making a connection. Hi, Anthony, how you doing? So one of the things I do to engage with my community is these live streams, and I can set myself little missions as well and little challenges. Like, so for January after Christmas, it's sitting here not actually doing any music and, talking to everybody, which is brilliant. And it's, it's massively helps me think about my own practice as a coach and as a musician, just sitting here and, thinking about things and talking about things as they happen. I mean, I tend to do very little preparation for when I'm doing these talks. It's literally off the top of my head. So when we think about, so I suppose like one thing is, before I go into the various things, and it's quite a lot of it's actually just common sense, really. I'll tell you why I arrived at the thing that I arrived to, right? It's because it was the easiest. It was the kind of, in one way, it was the most challenging thing to do. And then another way, it was the easiest. So, like for me, like I'm sure like a lot of people know on here, I have dyslexia, right? So, one way you sort of engage with people, right, is through email. And, you'll run a campaign. So, one of the things is I've done in the past is I'll have a mailing list, right? People are signing into a mailing list. You get them to sign into a mailing list because you're offering something free. So on and off, I used to do this free coaching cheat sheet, and then I had another free thing, which was my dance kick drums. Actually, if anybody wants my dance kick drums, which are really mint, and I never use now, do send me an email and I'll send you them because they are good. So, and the kick drums, and that's how I get people to sign into my list. And then what you got to do is you got to follow up on this like sequence of emails, haven't you? And you've always got to have something on the go, which is fine. But when you're doing coaching, right, the weird thing about being a coach is it's as much of a game of eliminating people as it is attracting people, because you need to have people, because it's not a course where you just download it and it goes out to the masses. You're in a group with other people, so you have to find out like who's really coachable and who's not. And one way to do that is you have these big emails, all right, that'll kind of get your attention. And then you'll start telling people a story about, something that you experienced in your musical career or in your production or a session you were doing that you were struggling with, and then how you sort of overcome it. And then you'll give them a free kind of insight. And then at the end of that, you'll just say in the PS, look, I'm a coach. If you want to kind of have help with your music, then you can come here and, join a coaching group. So really, and there'll be these long emails and you have to get through them, and you have to do several of those every week. So that's quite a difficult one. And part of that is, you're eliminating people. You're also getting people, you're wanting people to get to know you on a more personal level. So you're building up trust. And that's like one way to do it. And that was such a demanding slog. And I just thought, like, that's going to take forever. I'm never going to be doing music. I'm going to be writing emails. So really, you got to do things that you're comfortable with. And it just happened, obviously, that the live streaming was a thing at the pandemic. We had McRockland and Hutch, like, shows set up, and then Shred Club, and all those wonderful things happened. And then I sort of realised the potential of that. And then I was coaching on a mastery group, and that was all about looking at ways to make a connection. And I just thought, the releasing music thing doesn't work that great. And then if I want to make something, if I want to kind of change my life and do what I'm doing full time, then really, setting up your own coaching business is the way for me, which I did a couple of years ago. And it was absolutely a brilliant thing to do, So I needed a way where I could just engage with people. And this is what we have. We have the broadcast, and it is a broadcast. Des says it was a broadcast. So I have my live YouTube or whatever Twitch thing. And that's a brilliant way that people can see me on here and get to know me and think, well, Tim's all right. I wouldn't mind, finishing some music. Maybe I'll give the coaching group a shot. Can't be that bad. So that's sort of why I do this. It's just, and you can ask me, and it's a dynamic, to a point, a dynamic relationship that we have. The other thing is, it's a free resource for everybody as well. So it's that free thing as well, and it just makes it easier because I can just be up here, and then if people want something, right, they can just ask me, and it's a lot easier, isn't it? If you just ask me, and you can have whatever you want. If I can help you there and then I'll do it. So this also sort of helps with another idea I had, which was like a coaching gym. So this is a bit like a very limited coaching gym sort of scenario. Whereas if you were finding something, if there was a problem, and problems aren't a bad thing, and you're wondering where to start in tackling that problem, you can always come on here and just ask. And the other thing about asking on here is we all have the same problems. Believe you me, even me, I have the same problems as everybody else. And you can share that with the community that's on here. You can share that problem, and we can look at that as a group, and as well as me, because it doesn't all just have to come from me. Everybody can put their pitch in, and we can help with that. The music industry is a very dynamic beast. It's changing all the time, isn't it? The business model changes all the time. How we interact, consume our music changes all the time. But fundamentally, we're dealing with human beings at the end of the day. So I think one of the things that really helped me was, and I'll just read down the list, is what I would do is I would think about, the ideal person that would be, which is actually all of you guys really, who I would coach, and then I would start building. Sometimes, like, what I'd do is I'd build an avatar of a person who, the kind of person who I would coach. And then what you can do is you can start thinking about it. It's like, it becomes like a model and you can start engaging with it. So that's one thing. But there's actually, when it comes to just building a tribe, I mean, that's more of a coaching thing to do. But when it comes to a tribe or the community, what we're really looking at is a way of understanding those people and coming up with something of value. What we're looking at is their beliefs. We're looking at their ideas and messages, perspectives and perceptions, tastes, behaviors, defining language, symbols, routines or rituals, products, and things that group are against. So, hi Anthony, I don't know if I said hello or not, and Enzo, hello. How are you doing? It's really cold in here. It's absolutely freezing. I've got my jacket on again. But anyway, so beliefs, what do we believe in? You know, I believe in, helping people to be as creative as possible. I see creativity as the tool to solve all problems. I really do. Creativity is by definition, it's a method in which it's the method in which you operate to solve things. That's what it is. And I think there's that misconception of like creativity is something that that something is just sacred to certain people. Looking at there's an artist and that artist looks like crazy wearing different clothes, I'm not like that. That's a creative person. I don't think, and that's not true. Everybody's creative. Yeah. If I was getting my car fixed by a mechanic and he saw a problem that he'd never seen before, and then he came up with some ingenious way to fix that problem, he would be being creative, just as creative as I am when I'm doing my music and setting up and putting these lights in and trying to find the right angle in this room so like these lives look presentable. I was being creative when I did that. So yeah, creativity belongs to all of us and we all have it. So for beliefs, for me, when I think about it, the very strong beliefs that I have are I suppose it's like the mission statement for what I do. And there are several. So as a coach, I believe that everybody, regardless of how skilled you are, okay, and this is proved to me on a daily basis, right? It's more than a belief, all right? Really it is. And that is, even if you've got limited resources, and I mean limited, okay, you're still capable, all right, of making music as good as anybody else. But it does require you to facilitate the skills that you've already got, because you're just looking with music for that unique angle. The world just wants to hear something different and exciting, and I think we're all capable of doing that. I think we overcomplicate things, but fundamentally it's just, we want to hear something different and exciting, and it could be 3 notes made with some crazy weird instrument, all right? So everybody can make music as good as anybody else, okay? I believe that everybody has the skills now to make great music. I mean, the skill thing's a big one for us shredders, because we're constantly comparing ourselves to our community of elite guitarists who are on there on Instagram. And I mean, it's not, it's not all. I mean, there is some kind of saving graces there that, like, a lot of these guys, it's 10 seconds of something that they've practiced and rehearsed, and it's the best 10 seconds that they got at that time. That doesn't mean they're amazing improvisers or things like that, or writers of music. It's just that's what they're doing. It's a thing, and that's perfectly fine. But it is quite intimidating to watch, isn't it? When you're scrolling and you're watching all these people absolutely living the best life, that are shredding in the best corner of the room like me. then it kind of gives us a different thing. But, at the end of the day, right, we don't really have to worry about that. We don't have to compare, nor should we compare ourselves to other people like that. Again, we just want to facilitate who we are to make something special and unique for ourselves, firstly. And, if you read the Rick Rubin book, oh God, what's the title of it? I should know it. It's his new book that he's just put out in 2023. It's amazing. A Creative Way of Being. Yeah. Fundamentally, right, you need to be making music for yourself first, and then other people will relate to that anyway. The other belief I have, again, these are more than beliefs, and I see it literally every day, okay, is we can make music under any circumstance. Why should we be, why should our creativity stop because horrible things happen in the world? It shouldn't, should it? We should still do our part for the world, because remember, at the end of the day, when we're making music, okay, we're connecting with the outside world, and we've made something for ourselves. There's a point where, to me, it doesn't belong to me, and it needs to either go out, either through talking to you guys about the things that I've been through and the insights that I've had, and the coaching and all that kind of thing, and the way that I approach music. That's my main way of connection, and also making music, so you see stuff, and also doing lives. Those are my main things, and then occasionally releasing some music. So the biggest impact things are those. And I think sort of having done a lot of music and sitting here, what is the most value I can give out to people? Well, like, one of the things I can actually say is that we should always be creative. We should always live our true selves. And even though I know it sounds difficult to say, to think about, because you can be really ill. Horrible. Life can chuck. You see, this is the thing. Life can throw some very weird things at us, can't it? Sickness, death. The world's not the most happiest place at the minute. And if you're watching the news and things like that, you've got to be careful, because it will drain your will to be creative, and we don't want that. We want to be all still living, and it's not a selfish thing. We still all want to be living our best and purposeful lives, don't we? And being true to ourselves and the people around us. And if your passion happens to be music, that shouldn't stop. That should continue. So these are the beliefs that I have, and that's an important one, because I remember that terrorist strike on that French venue like years ago, and that was the first time I ever got I really ever experienced this kind of depressive dip in my creativity that was triggered by something external. Because that venue getting blown up and people getting killed, I was just like, that was really awful. And I happened to catch it on the news, and you're thinking about it, and you think, oh God, this is like, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do some music here, and I'm having, it's difficult, isn't it? It's hard. But we should carry on, at all costs that we can, if we can, because it's important to us to be, if you're that kind of person and it's your passion, you express your thoughts and emotions metaphorically, and you need that through your instrument, and you don't have to be recording, then it shouldn't stop, should it? If you're feeling sad, and that's what the guitar's there for, or keyboards, it's there to pick up and play and resonate, and so that's a belief. And I'm hoping people share these beliefs with me, by the way, and you form a very tight community, I mean, fundamentally, I'm wanting people just to not procrastinate, okay, and not have those barriers, and just engage in making music, and to be able to finish music and not being thinking about it. And, I want the pain and the awkwardness of creating taken out, because some of it, right, you do have some of it. I mean, it's about the struggle and the chase, right? But some of the stuff you go through is just unnecessary and repetitive. So, my speciality is kind of removing those things, okay? And then just focusing in on the important things, identifying those. And then the other belief is, I believe that everybody, regardless of all these things, of what you think, you can make an income out of your music. So whether it's just a passive income to buy some pedals for your guitars or whatever, or keep the electricity on the studio, have a holiday once a year, it is possible. It's more than possible to do that because we can all release music. So in a way, even though we're not aiming for the big record deal of millions, there is plenty of money out there for us to tap into and get our equal part for, releasing music and for educational stuff. Of course, the cool thing about when you're releasing music, you become an artist. So when you do something like teach a guitar lesson or do music production or coaching, it comes with some validation. So what you charge goes up compared to your regular educationalist, the same as you see this in dance music a lot. You'll have the local DJ who plays everybody else's music and struggles, and then you'll have the DJ artists who get paid a lot more by promoters because they're creating their own music and they're creating more interest in the scene. So really, that's my kind of beliefs and the ideas and messages, sort of that I'm giving out, and the way that I engage with the community is at the minute through doing these talks. It's terrifying and exciting, isn't it? So hope you're all staying with me on this, because I know it's not. At some point, I'll be just right. Just let's just have a look at the McLaughlin suite, shall we? Because I know this can get a little bit heavy. But one thing that I absolutely adore the guitar community. I think it's brilliant, honestly, and I think when I was doing all that dance music, 2014 to 2019, and not shredding and all the struggling a bit before that, I just look back at myself, and although it was really good and I learned so much stuff, I was just ignoring stuff that I do, that I'm quite, that I lost my passion for, that I had to get back. It's really weird. See, when I compare the dance music genre outside of outside of doing something like this would be very difficult unless you would be DJing or something like that. There wasn't a lot there for me. I didn't have much identification with my tribe. And I would do interviews, and I just remember that interview, I probably mentioned it before, and it was really uncomfortable. So, they talk to me, there was very little music production, and it was all about going to the club. I was like, oh, don't go to the club. I'll just stay in. I'm just an electronic music producer nerd. And then, they'd be quite surprised about that. And then they'd have these lists of ridiculous questions, and just one of them that I just thought, this is just not for me, was, hey Hutch, which is better, Croatia or Ibiza? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't been to any of them. And then I just thought, I'm not unless I go out and start DJing this music, it's not really working, But luckily the guitar thing came back in. You'd release a track then, and people would just give you, now I know, Scott, you communicate through emojis. This is fine, you're the exception to the rule. But you'd release a track, and you'd be lucky if you got one word. You would get fire, smiley faces, hearts, praying hands. I'd never really get any words. No, very rarely. And nobody would ever say, "Oh, Tim, that how did you make that?" They just wouldn't. So it was just like the whole thing, apart from getting huge amounts of enjoyment of creating the music, after that, it was just dead. And then the Spotify numbers would probably be, say, better than McLaughlin and Hutch for me, but it was just a number. All I'm doing is I just go, right, well, the number's gone up. So I'm making all this music, and like I'm like, oh, right there, look, I've got 500 more people. It's not doing anything. I'm not getting anything from this, you know. But this is a different scene, isn't it? This is different. So, you know, absolutely. You've got to go out to the club and get the vibes, you know. Yeah, you see, Enzo loves the McLaughlin and Hutch music. It's brilliant, you see, and you know, this is the thing, because that music links to like so many other cool things, doesn't it? I'm back into guitars. Guitars are just a wonderful thing. Guitars are like cars, you know. It's like building yourself a Lamborghini or something like that, or some sort of like custom whatever. Everybody's into guitars, aren't they? Who listen to our music, they want to know everything about your guitar. They want to know what wood it's made out of. They want to know what fretboard you're using, whether you got steel frets, nickel frets, whether you got a headstock or you haven't got one, although that's pretty obvious because you can just see that like actually there's a headstock missing. You know, they want to know basically, you know, what do you think of the glittery paintwork on your guitar? They want to know everything, pickups. And then it doesn't stop there. It's like, right, okay, we're going right down the signal chain. What wah are you using? Oh, do you use a noise gate? What tuner have you got on your board? Oh, I fancy one of those. I've been thinking about it. And again, this whole consumerist thing, don't you? It's wonderful. And all the possibilities of what happens when you plug your guitar and you actually make some music. But before you even get there, you've got all the purchasing of stuff, which is just a big thing, isn't it? I mean, we all love that. We all love going out shopping and buying some stuff in for the studio. It's like, it's great, isn't it? And it's in abundance in this community, I notice, you know. So, Enzo, let's have a look at the chat. I'll just flash that up because, you know, there we go. I love McLaughlin and Hutch music. Thank you. 80s hair metal. So you see, like, you know, hair metal. There's like loads going on there, isn't it? It's got all the guitars and stuff like that. Plus, we've got the hair to talk about. You know, if you know, what's the best way? What's the best hairspray to use? You know. Okay, Enzo. Half the music I hear online without guitar, when I improvise over it, I say to myself, "Man, this rocks now." Well, yes, because you're adding expression to it. There's so much music out there that's like just missing something, and it's just like an empty electronic hole. So yes, I know what you mean, because I do that. I like jamming on stuff like that. In fact, I've done a few lives on stuff. Like sometimes I'll go to, I'll go to a dance label I like, say like Trick Records, run by Patrick Topping. And then I'll have a jam over his stuff, because like a lot of that stuff's tech house and just like a groovy bass, but it's a bit different. Yeah, and I quite like jamming over sort of garagey deep house stuff. I really like as well when I'm practicing my swing vibes. Right, I'm a viola player as well. I always wanted a Mark Wood fretted viola for heavy metal music. That sounds brilliant. You see, stuff like that's going to get your attention, isn't it? That 4 years of college 20 years ago paid off. There we go. Excellent. Final net. The next album named BLK Electronic Hall. Yeah. Very good. So just roughly going through this list and overlapping and getting lost in what I'm saying, you know. So behaviors is a good one, isn't it? I mean, how, we all, gigs, going to gigs, watching streams like this, watching McLaughlin and Hutch live. Food is another one. I mean, I think Thomas engages in this very, very well. The bad for food. So there's lots of different behaviors you can also engage with as well when creating a tribe. And I think a lot of it is when you're getting on board with this stuff, it's how you talk to people, and then all of this stuff kind of just makes them warm up to you, doesn't it? And really get into it and building a really positive community. So behaviors and tastes and defining language. I think there's with us rock guys, there is a definite defining language. We have everything shred, isn't it, and turbo, and if you think of just Michelangelo, I'll give you the keys to the Ferrari. All of that sort of alpha male shred talk is definitely part of the scene, and just brilliant as well. So I love all of that. And then we have symbols, don't we? The symbols of guitars and fingers and shred. Let's see what I've got on here. So yeah, I mean, when I go down it, so don't beliefs, ideals, and message. So some of the notes here, as in what? So we've got things like ideas and messages. So a way of getting to the goal by simplifying and focusing on one specific mission a week. So that's something that I'll do a lot of coaching on, is breaking a problem down and then helping somebody just focus on one thing. So whenever I do any stuff in a coaching group, we do the wins, problems, opportunities, and a lot of the time I'll say problems, but sometimes it'll be identify what your number one problem is, and then have a look at how we can solve that as one. And then obviously, the tastes, so when we're talking about guitars, we're looking at what inputs from that can support action. So once you've got your guitar, you're going to want to learn more about shredding, aren't you? So from a business point of view, you can offer guitar lessons and you'll see people are offering various angles on stuff I'll teach you how to improvise using the cage system or things. So we see a lot of that. I have a lot on that. I agree, Tim. Cool. Routines and rituals. That's a good one, isn't it? I wonder what routines and rituals, what music routines and rituals do we have? Has anybody got any good ones for me? I mean, one for sure is, I'm hoping everybody here is practicing. Practicing your guitars and practicing your music production skills. I think practicing music production, all right, and sitting in front of a computer is a little bit more elusive than just picking a guitar up and playing it. And I think sometimes when we're writing music, some things that we do in terms of our progress, it's quite difficult to measure the improvement, isn't it? Oh, there's Smart Alec. Thanks for doing these talking streams, Tim. I do get a lot from listening. Brilliant. Oh, and he said, working on music at the same time every day for a minimum time. So that's brilliant. So, one thing that I tell absolutely everybody, and there's a whole talk on it, is the habit, the minimum viable commitment you're going to do. Plonk that minimum viable commitment before something that you do every day, like brushing your teeth. Do your music session. Because if you really want to do music and you really want to finish something and you really want to be able to successfully monitor your progress, okay, coffee helps as well. you're going to need that regular time. Okay, and that's, you know, one bit of advice. I mean, when I started getting my act together, that was the one thing I did do, getting up in those very early morning sessions, lonely and cold. It was that regular session, and I could see the improvement happening over time rather than it being a sporadic random thing. So yeah, just kind of, you know, focusing in on a time and having a minimum viable commitment. You know, mine's been 5 minutes. I think half an hour is sensible. And then if you go past half an hour and you're feeling up for your session, you can go on as long as you want. If you don't want to do any more, you can stop, and that is it. So that's a really good thing. I've mentioned products, so guitars and software plugins and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, for me, in a way, I don't do much with the product thing. As a coach, I have to push against that, because I know, like, you know, shiny things and buying plugins and all that kind of thing, it's wonderful, and we all do it. I do it as well, you know, and I've got my timeout cupboard and a timeout box, all right? And I do occasionally look at like hardware synths and thinking, oh, that would be good. But I know actually now from experience of filling the cupboards up full of stuff, right, that actually I'm going to plug it in, realise it doesn't fit in with my workflow, it gets in the way, then I feel guilty about not using it, then I can't use it, and then I have to just get out my site and sell it. So really, you know, I'm all about people just making music with the resources that you've got. Realistically, you could just buy Ableton, couldn't you? I mean, you could just buy the middle version where you get some instruments, right? You could make wonderful music out of that. I mean, Burial, whose music is absolutely amazing. I don't know what he does now, but like he didn't even have a he didn't even have a proper DAW. He wasn't using Ableton. He was using some video editing software. So he didn't actually have a timeline. You had to like get all the individual hits and drop them in on a timeline and slide them about to get them in time. But the result was he ended up with his own sort of glitchy, cool. You should have a listen to his stuff. Glitchy, sort of like cool groove to everything, you know. And because of that process and that creative limitation he had, it forced him to do other things that he wouldn't have thought about if he'd been in the most perfect Ableton Live environment, you know. I've sworn off buying any new plugins. I'm just doing the minimalistic approach this year. I have a lot of gear and it can be distraction. Yeah. And of course you want to buy, I mean, you know, this is why I really like Thomas's plugin, because it's been made by someone who plays guitar a lot, who needs to have stuff together to do things, you know, and it's a collection of all the best ideas to do with guitar that Thomas has experienced, you know, and that plugin is all about a toolkit that he's used that has, you know, solved common problems, and it works, you know. I know it's this thing of like, all right, okay, problems we haven't had yet, but Thomas's one solves all the common problems that you're going to get, and that's really good because it's a great starting point, you know. And you have, for a guitar, like, you know, that's really, you can get away with just using that in your signal chain. In fact, like lines of code, my Pilot solo was just, there wasn't any more processing on that guitar other than the preset I was using, which was the Alive preset. So when you listen to that, the reverb, the delay, it was just all that plugin. There was nothing before it and there was nothing after it. Won't stop buying guitar. No, you can have as many guitars as you want. But when it comes to getting the job done, I tend to pick one and then stick with that. Is what I'll tend to do. But no, you don't want to stop doing that. New guitars always help because you don't have to learn a new user interface. Well, yeah, because they're all the same, aren't they? Pretty much. So that's a fair enough comment. All right. Defining language. Symbols, we've covered that. Rituals and whatever rituals and routines do we have? Well, we have a few, don't we? We have McRocklin and Hutch lives, hopefully once every fortnight. I know it's a joke. So there's always that summoning of everybody who's into shred can come and see us doing our thing there and playing a few McRocklin and Hutch tracks, as well as doing other various ridiculous stunts like playing in the key of E flat minor, which we're a lot better at doing now. And then obviously rituals and routines is, this, isn't it? Me getting up in the morning and doing something live with an audience most mornings. That is part of a ritual for the tribe that we have here, isn't it? It's a bit like, at the minute, this is a bit like the tribes gathering round the campfire, isn't it, at the end of the day, except it's the beginning of my day. Right. Finally got the last guitar. It's my new old friend. All right, Gramps, what guitar did you get? But anyway, another thing, when you're thinking about tribes and engaging with a tribe, is things you're against. All right, Pat Martino. Very nice. I'd have to look that up and see what it's like. But sounds good. So then, when you engage in a tribe, like one thing to get people sort of on board with you is being against something. So if I've got, and usually actually this is the most powerful tool, I think, of marketing really, isn't it? Way it's like, so it could be, for me, I'm trying to beat procrastination. All right. I'm trying to stop people from thinking about what they're going to do and just start doing the thing and then starting from there. That's one of the things. The other thing sort of against is people just being isolated. And again, that's a procrastination thing, feeling that you are, the special snowflake and things are different for you and all that sort of stuff. And it's that isolation as an artist I had. So I'm very much about helping people get out of that state of isolation. And this is the main thing, I think, for me. And then moving them through process to a state of aspiration where they now believe, all right, okay, I can actually do this. And then they start actually doing the thing. And then rinsing and repeating that and making it better and better and better. So I'm all for that. I'm all for, I don't like the idea of being creative only when you think you're in the zone. I don't buy into that. It has to be seen to me like a job. And more times I sit down, right, and I think, in fact, it's actually every time I do a live. Like doing this today, I'm like, I'm going to talk about tribes, I'm going to talk about community. Oh, that's so dry. What am I going to do? But I'm just falling through it. Excuse to be lazy. Yeah, but then I don't like thinking, it's going to be hard. You've got to face up to the hard work and it's going to be tough and it's going to grind you. But if you break through it, it'll be good. I don't like that because I think life doesn't have to be like that. You just have to get up, all right, sit down and start doing the thing and stuff happens. I didn't feel particularly inspired to come on today and talk to everybody, but I put myself up to it. And that's what I'm doing now. You know, I'm sitting here. Rule is I'm not going to do any music. So I've got to sit here and talk to everybody. And I'm going to talk about tribes and community. That's what I'm going to do. With very little preparation, by the way. I've got a list and that's it. No, I haven't done AI yet, Enzo. But I have said a lot about AI, but I'm going to put it all together, obviously, in one stream, AI. So don't worry, you won't miss the AI one. AI will be back. It will be back. And of course, I'll do a little show and tell of Sonable EQ4, because it's amazing. I love that EQ. I think it's really good. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, things to be against. So, like, one thing I'm against is that sort of, if I'm not inspired, I'm just not going to do the thing, you know. Even though it's something that you love doing, then you got to sit down, you just got to do the thing, and then you're rewarded, aren't you? I mean, inspiration, when I don't want to do something and I sit down and do it, I always end up in a better shape than I was before. Whenever I've had that feeling of like, oh, I've really got to do music, but I really don't want to do it, and then I walk away, I just feel worse. I just think, oh, like I'm just now reinforcing that whole idea of you can't be creative. So really just sitting down and starting to do something. An idea of some sort always happens. Very rarely do I come away having not improved something in some way. Yeah, so all these lives. All right, hold on. All right, Enzo, I would like to know the topics ahead of time. All right, would you? But that means organisation, doesn't it, Enzo? So I kind of just keep people blinkered and just in the moment, you see. And then I can change my mind, you see. But then if I start saying, all right, it's going to be this. Right, Monday, Enzo. It is Friday today, isn't it? It is, yeah. I'll tell you this now, Enzo, right? On Monday, I'm going to be talking about creativity modularized. No, you're not like Hitler. You're not like Hitler. So, yes, creativity modularized. We're going to have a look at, what we can be focusing on and what we don't need to be focusing on that can be just like something that's a job that's automatically dealt with a little bit of preparation. That's what we're going to be looking at. We'll be looking at the machine as well, and I'll be going through the sections of the machine and through the process. So a lot of you here will already kind of know a bit about that, but I'll be going through it, spending a whole session on it. Okay. And I'll be talking about, obviously, Splurge, Sketchbook, Discovery, Drafts, Done, and Release. But it may be that then I split that up into different separate talks. I don't know. So I'll have to do the first one on modularizing creativity before I get to all the other things, yeah. But we'll see. And then on the Tuesday, in fact, that's all I can tell you. Because that's all I know myself. This is the other thing, is a lot of like what I do is quite spontaneous, you know. I like that element of just having to think on your feet, which is why I love improvising on guitar, you know. I don't have to go through the stress of writing something and then having to stick with it. I can just blurt it out, and it's a great thing, you know. And just for my mental well-being, it's good because I can just offload my day when I'm playing. So that's a good thing. So things here are great. So procrastination, just weird beliefs about creativity. I'm kind of against all of that, and I'm all for proving to everybody that the beliefs that I hold, that I want to share with the community, are all true through doing. And that's the main thing, but it's you've got to get up and do stuff. Hi, BRS, how are you doing? We're just talking about tribes. Loosely speaking. And of course, products are a great way to bring people together as well. So, like one thing I can do. What's it? I've got no. Oh, you're going to bed. All right, Tim. Good night. Excellent. Yeah, so obviously, like products are a good way to sort of engage a community as well, aren't they? So the whole Ableton Live can tie in very nicely with me. Like sometimes I will do show and tell things on a particular product if I think it's absolutely amazing. And I think obviously doing the nuts and bolts of production, how to EQ something or how I use reverb and all of those kind of things are potentially useful. But for me, it all comes down to the core beliefs I have to be feeding into that. I have to be, helping people use the skills that they've got to do what it is that they're doing. There we go. Right. So I think I'm about done with the sort of tribe thing. I hope that was all right, my rant this morning. But if anybody has got things they would like to talk about, still got to work on hybrid picking, been learning full stack web development, so been guitar slacking. Well, that's all right. However, BRS, what I'd like to say is this. I'm just going to do a little bit of coaching, right? I'm sure you can do the two things, all right? Just answer this. Do you have a minimum viable guitar practice time daily? Because actually being very busy and then working out how you can play a little bit of guitar every day would be a massive win. I'm assuming you get to play a little bit. So I was just talking about this, but if you want to answer. If not, it's cool. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Right, you should. So, BRS, what I suggest doing, right, is working out what your minimum viable... Can you tell me what your minimum viable commitment is for playing guitar now on a daily basis? If your life depended on playing guitar, luckily it doesn't for any of us, but if it did, and to stay alive, right, you had to do, and it doesn't matter how long or how short the time is, how much time to keep yourself alive could you spend on doing your guitar practice a day? It has to be every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every day. Can you give me a time? I've started something here, haven't I? An hour of practice a day. If your life depended on it, you could do an hour. Well, that's amazing. So you should go off and do an hour. But I think even an hour could be too much. Because what you're wanting, like in an hour, is that full hour focused practice on building technique, or the aims and objectives. Is it all? Is every minute of that itemized in what you're doing in terms of your progress is each action. Have you assessed a skill to challenge ratio? So, yeah, when you're young, it's just you have like ridiculous amounts of time, but an hour is absolutely loads of time, isn't it? So you can dedicate at least an hour. So when could you do your hour? Because fundamentally, even if you're busy, you want to be doing like your guitar practice at the same time. We want to build a habit here, don't we? So if you can get up in the morning and do your guitar practice then, maybe not an hour, 15 minutes, and then split the time up, I think that would work out a lot better. So for me, the less time I have, the more focused I am on what my goals and what I'm trying to achieve. So like now, if I only had 15 minutes guitar practice, okay, then I'm going to work on one very specific thing, okay? So one thing I like to pull up on is my legato and just stop my fingers from going flat when I'm playing. So chances are, look, I threw up my thumb. What I'll do is I'll do exercises that are just dedicated for that, and that'll be my 15 minutes doing stuff on that, so hammers only. The next day, if I haven't fulfilled my goals, I'll keep working on that. The next day, my 15 minutes, I'll probably be looking at sort of adding the pick into that. So I'll be looking at sort of using some sort of sweep motion with legato, with rest strokes. After that, you'd be looking at very specific exercises on hybrid picking. So everything would be very just small and mechanically to the point. So that's what I would do. So it would be kind of technical focused things. And then if I had another 15 minutes or half an hour at the end of the day, what I'd probably want to do is some sort of improvisational thing. Yeah, I mean, when you're younger, it's like, well, you haven't quite got the pressures as being an adult. An hour is all you need. I 100% agree with that. It's providing it's focused and you've identified skill to challenge ratios and aims and objectives, then it's all good. What are you trying to achieve? What are you working on? If you're working on your music, all right, and you're playing solos over your own tracks, right? There's areas where things aren't going according to plan. What mechanically and what harmonically is going wrong, what problems are created there, and then try and describe what it is. So if you do this process, which I call codex, all it is you are observing something if you don't know what to practice on. So the first thing is you're observing, second thing is you're describing, and the third thing is you're explaining. When you explain something well enough, actually the solutions then just appear out of nowhere. So that's a great tool I use to just work out what the actual problem is. I mean, one thing that we do with most things, mixing music especially, and playing guitars, we just pick the thing up and there is no aim there, and we haven't really identified problems, and then suddenly everything's a surprise, But what we can do is almost on an XY axis, locate where the problem is, describe it and explain, and then brainstorm ideas on how to solve that problem. Yeah, so that's a good one. So this is a really good one, and I do this. So waking up in the morning, so at the end of the day, if I've been playing a lot and I've run into the same sort of problems, then what I'll do is I'll pull out a quick exercise to address those issues, and I'll play like literally 5 minutes before bed that particular exercise or whatever to solve that problem. I'll wake up in the morning after I've had a nice sleep on it, and then I will just do a little bit more playing on that thing, and that really works. So practicing before bed and after bed is quite a good thing. I quite like that. There's a book called The Art of Learning. by this grand chess master, and that's what he would do. He would take problems he's trying to solve, he would take the bed with him, and he'd wake up, and then hopefully insight would kick in, and then he would have a solution. I've never seen the Rock Discipline video. Everybody raves about it. Okay, legato is the holy grail to me. Is there any secret to learning it? It's a series of secrets. There was a post on Instagram by a well-known guitarist saying, and I just quickly caught my eye, and it said something like legato is an easy way to play fast. Well, it's not. There's just as many variables going on legato that you have to master, just as much as like picking, you know. If you want to do the hammers only and legato, it's a tough ride. It is, because a lot of it is controlling. It's as much controlling noise on the guitar and your fingers as it is actually just hitting the notes right, you know. And then also what it does is it really highlights, when you first start doing it, coordination flaws in your fingers. Brett Garson, I've started listening to a little bit of his stuff. I'm going to listen to some more because I'm into sort of chromatic stuff, so I need to have a listen. Would you recommend any? Is there any particular album I should listen to, Enzo? I find that mornings are better for me, but it doesn't work with my schedule. Yeah, so, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, as long as you have a regular time, you know, I prefer mornings because your attention span is high, and I find it easier than coming in on an evening. But actually, it's quite nice coming on an evening and doing some music, because if you can get there and there's no pressure on you, it's just nice to sit in front of the studio and just and fiddle on, isn't it? Having said that, all you need to do for your serious music session really is just have a routine that actually, when you do your music session, it happens at the same time, like going to the gym. And by doing that, it just means that our brains automatically get us there without any resistance. You know, once you get into that habit, we're not thinking about going there, we're just going there and doing the thing, you know. A bit like me on my morning lives, yes, I get the odd bit of resistance, but fundamentally, I'm here, and I'm sat in this chair talking to you lot, and I don't even, like, sometimes I can't, it's like automatic, I don't know how I got here. I can't remember putting this jacket on this morning, because it's all automatic. Mad, innit? Look up Uncle Mo's Cow Space Ranch. I think Uncle Mo's Space Ranch. So, alright, okay. Scott, keyboard player from Scott Henderson's band, right, okay. But is there any Brett Garsted tunes? Because chances are I might put them on, and then it'll be like this weird like fusion thing, and then I'll switch it off. Whereas if you recommend something, I'll go, right, Enzo recommended I listen to this particular thing, so I'm gonna sit here and be good and listen to it all the way through. Oh, he plays on every song. Right, okay. Now I've got to remember this, haven't I? Oh, where's my pen? Right. Uncle Mo's Space Ranch. Right, I'm up for that. I'll have a listen. Oh, is there some live gigs with Brett as well? A live Brett Garston gigs. I want to hear him play live. Oh, right, yes. I dig chords that give me an emotional response. Learning round midnight right now. Cool. He's on some of that. Also, Tony McAlpine does most Plant X stuff. All right then. Excellent. So I'll check Brett out. All right, everybody. So I think that's me done for this morning. I've just looked at the time and it's 7:37. So I hope the take on community and tribe was of some use. It's been great here sitting and talking about stuff. Great. So I'll see you guys hopefully on Saturday for the live with Thomas. Seems to be happening. All right. Thanks, Cheryl, for the subscription. Thank you. The other thing is Nala Nova, you're all right now. I don't think I said hello to you. So anybody who's on Twitch, if you come over and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well, if you're okay with that, that would be great as well, because I'll be posting content up on here, and I don't want you to miss out, because once I update my computer system, I can then start doing some final cutting. All right, great. Thank you, Enzo. Brilliant. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I'm going to check that out, Enzo. That's going to be played in the car this morning. So I'm looking forward to... Oh, there's another subscriber. Thank you, Lethal, for the follow. That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the follow. And do subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is just... You can find me under Tim Hutch. Excellent. All right, everybody. I'll see you hopefully Saturday evening. And then there'll be, maybe it's like a random studio chill session on the Sunday morning about 11 o'clock. All right then. Bye.